Let's get ready to throw down!
What is up, everybody? We are back. Sales Throwdown. We are talking about gratitude because this week is election week. There's a lot of stuff going on, and as salespeople, you're getting the brunt of it on top of everything else that's going on. So how do you find the good stuff, right? Before we were recording, I was talking about it being kind of like not a bad week, but just a week for the sake of a week, right? And I think in those moments you got to go and kind of find your motivation and find the why. And sometimes that's gratitude and sometimes it's other things. So it's kind of what we're here to talk about today. So with that being said, let's talk to Miss Nan because she is the queen of gratitude and good vibes and everything else.
100%.
So like, do you ever have a moment where you're just kind of down, like, man, I'm just having a bad day? Like, does that ever happen in the world of Nan?
Oh, heavens, yes. And for sure. I think, that reminds me of the question, do you have any regrets of your life? Well, everyone has regrets. And if you don't have a regret at some point,
you're not living hard enough.
I'm sorry?
I said you're not living hard enough.
Well,
Look, Clint smiled at that, so he knows what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, well, I'm not thinking in respect to what y'all are thinking. I'm just thinking, of course you have regrets. Everybody has regrets. And if you have a regret, then you're not feeling a lot of gratitude for that moment. But in actuality, you probably should. I think that attitude is everything. If you have a bad attitude, and go ahead. Dr. Daniel?
But let me define what I mean by regret. Like, I should have gone left instead of right. I don't wear anything heavy on my soul about what I've done. I do what's necessary for Al to get through the moment, the day, the week, whatever it may be. And so this whole, living in the past, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I regret that I should have punched that guy's lights out, right, instead of walking away. I regret that I should have taken another action step instead of the action step I took. And maybe it would have shortened the learning curve, or it would have gotten me down the road a little bit quicker. No, you learn from mistakes. Those aren't regrets.
Okay, I think it's coming from an I think very clearly, because when so maybe that's where we should start, but we've kind of gone off gratitude, but maybe I kind of directed us that direct with my statement. But for me, I can say in all my regrets that it isn't when it affected me, because I have a positive outlook. I'm like, well, it's okay. For me, I'm like, I could completely crumble and then go, okay, well, just go the next day, right? But unfortunately, I have regrets that have affected others, maybe my children, people that I care for, or, how many, I know this is a really silly one, but like just today I'm driving down, I see this, driving down the street, I stop at a red light and I see this guy that I normally try to be kind to because he needs help. And I was like caught up in my own little, what I was trying to hurry and, and then I went, oh, he saw me and he didn't, so that's a regret, so it's just a plethora of regrets, right? But back on to the gratitude, the reason I brought up the regret is because how you really look at your life, how you handle each little silly situation or big situation is predicated on your attitude ultimately. It is not really what the situation is, because when I hear someone go, man, I just had a really crummy day. And I'm like, well, you're going to have another one. And I had one day and you're going to, because life just comes in waves. There's good days, bad days. And that's just the way it is. So how are you going to look at it? Like if you go in and make a sales call and you completely mess up, do you go, oh, does it destroy you? It better not, because you're going to do it again. You instead sit down and go, okay, what did I do? Oh my gosh, that was really stupid. And then learn from it and then improve the next time. So it's really a good thing. So like today, there's this election and things didn't go, potentially are not going exactly how I had hoped. But then I'm like walking tonight going, oh, well, it's okay. Because ultimately for me, God's in control too. Also, there is something that will be good for a change. You know, there's going to be bad probably, but there's good. So you can look at everything, and it is your attitude. So don't walk around just like sad. But some people just do that. But I would really like to encourage people that are listening to this that if that is your normal bent to be a little downtrodden or just thinking negative instead of, be thankful. And I promise you, if you look at something and do something and you go, actually, you spin it, how you spin it is how it's going to be. If you think the sky is falling, the sky is going to fall in your world. Everyone creates their own atmosphere. So be really careful if you're not grateful for, I guarantee we can all look around. I mean, look at me. Like, in this moment, someone said, okay, well, I'm going to be here. I need you to go out to the patio. And I'm like, they're thinking this is secondary to something else. And I'm like, all right, I get to have fire, twinkle lights, plants, beautiful. I mean, or I could go, crap, I'm out here with the bugs and it's hot and, it's all how you think about it. That's all I'm trying to. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox. I have a tendency to preach a little much. Are y'all about ready to, y'all can cut all this out when you redo it.
There's no editing. We don't edit really out any parts of any episodes. And thankfully we haven't gotten in trouble for that yet. So
need a sign. Stop talking.
We're still young in the grand scheme of things though. Clint, right? Is there anything on the polar opposite end of that?
Can we say what you said? Okay, so what was the question asked Clint, and what was his immediate, without hesitation, response prior to recording?
We were talking about the topic, and Al goes, "Hey, Clint, do you have any gratitude?"
I asked the question. I said, "Hey, Clint, did D's have it? What is gratitude? Do they have any gratitude?"
He just goes, "No."
Which I've seen him have gratitude, so that's not true.
Well, hold on, Clint. You say thank you, right?
Yep.
Do you mean it?
Maybe it's not your favorite word to use, but I would think that if somebody did you a solid, you would support that and want them to know that you appreciated what they did, right?
Oh, so here's the deal. It's
He sounds like a stump speech. Hold on a second.
hear me out, because gratitude is up there along with respect. It's earned. You don't just give it away for free. And people have a tendency to overuse a lot of gratitude, which makes it, in the time that you truly mean it and truly want it to be there, it kind of just, it takes the nicety out of it, I guess. It just takes it down. I see it a lot, and then I would say most S's are that way. They overuse a lot of thank yous and, oh, you're the greatest person. You're the, it's just these big words. And it's like, I really didn't do that much, Why are you thanking me? It's like hiring a guy to do a job and then thanking him every day, every minute that he does something. Oh, you're so great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's nice. But you're paying him to do the job, which is the gratitude part. So I'm a little mixed feelings on it. I tend not to be too lovey-dovey in gratitude, show a lot of gratitude when I probably should. It's definitely a leadership quality of mine that's lacking.
That's so weird, because I feel of the three guys on this panel, the most gratitude, I get the most from you. I feel the most, and it's not love, but I feel the most, so maybe it is gratitude. I feel you are just the kindest. And John Hill, I love you. Dr. Cannon, I love you. But Clint has, and so I'm shocked that you're saying that. I really am.
No, this is going to go off the rails right here. Like nugget. If you want to see it dissolve, that's where it starts. Go ahead, Al. What do you got?
I got nothing, because I'm not even in this equation, it appears. Man, Nana's just left me out in the cold.
Nan loves everybody except for Dr. Al.
No, I didn't say that.
To what I'm saying though, and it's a hard way to explain, because it's not going to come off well received to most personalities or many people listening to this. It's like, oh, it's, this guy has no compassion or love. We've talked about that a lot, right? The compassion side of things. But for me, it's I kind of live in those extreme zones. I take a lot of hard hits and run with the hard hits and thrive in the chaos. I love that stuff. And I tend to stay away from the lovey-dovey feeling sort of thing. That's just me as a human being and probably my personality more than anything. But respect and love and gratitude and, being gracious, all those kind of fall in that. The moment, don't overuse it because it kind of weakens the meaning of it to me. Right. So when it gets overused a lot, it's like, saying the word, telling somebody you love them every day, 24 times a day, eventually it just becomes another word.
Right? Wow. This is shocking to me.
Clint, I love you.
Doesn't mean shit.
Well, it actually shouldn't, but okay.
Yeah.
I'm like,
no,
I'm sitting here and I'm
it's
racking my brain and I'm like, man, there's got to be somebody on the planet that Clint just gives a little bit of like love and respect and gratitude to, just like by default. And then I'm like, I'm thinking about people.
I do. Sure, but, I do. I have children. I have a wife. Like those are those get my gratitude and affection all day, every day, whenever whenever it's needed.
Sure.
But just to meet a stranger and just to show all this compassion and love and gratitude for somebody I've never seen what they've done or maybe they're just showing me one event of a life. And to be honest with you, and the reason I'm a little skeptical about it is because I've been burned by people that come, especially in sales. I've been burned by a lot of salespeople that come up and they want to show you all this grace and this love and this stuff up front to get you on the hook, and then they just burn you, right? So, for me, I get burned enough times, and I stopped showing that upfront compassion and gratitude and saying, "Oh, you did such a great job. Oh, thank you, dude. I hired you to do the job. You did it. Here's your money." That's gratitude in my book.
Okay, so what that made me think of, have y'all probably haven't done this, but like sometimes I'll go to a restaurant for dinner and the waitress will come out and they're stellar the first 5 minutes. And at that point, I'm like, wow, man, thank you. That was really timely and blah, say something nice to them. And, because I'm thinking, wow, they're really on key. And then after the 5 minutes, it all falls apart. And I'm like, I should never have said that. So point taken. I get what you're saying. You
okay.
Check.
That's a good.
I was going to say, but I've seen Clint go deep on a tip, right? I mean, you reward people, and that's a sense of gratitude. I mean, I've seen you pull your wallet out, but
you've also proven you're worth it. I'm not giving that to you just because you're you. I'm giving it to you because you earned it. And
but you're also easy to deal with. It's not like they had to jump through major hoops. It's like, hey, bring me my food, bring me my dinner, be kind.
And at the same time, look at all the times that they didn't, other people in the let's just say we're talking about servers here. Once again, I've been burned. I've tipped somebody big and then they haven't done a good job. They haven't done decent. So yeah, exactly. That's why I say it's just always earned to me. And don't think I haven't had phone calls with mentors in my life where I've called them up out of the blue on a Tuesday and said, hey man, I appreciate everything you've ever done for me. But they did a lot for me to get that phone call. And it may not mean anything to them, but it means a lot to me. So like I said, it's just it's an earned thing in my book. And it should be.
So John, I want to hear John's spin on this.
Okay. And then I got another thing I want to come back to, but yeah, John, give us your twist.
The snarky quip I want to make towards Clint is like asking him if it was the purchase of that Kirby vacuum cleaner that spoiled him on all other salespeople.
And that is, I will. Okay, so
that's a funny freak.
Okay.
Just so we're clear, great salesman. I mean, truly, you did. I learned a lot from that, good and bad. But I will say, he sold a vacuum. Right. I mean, so
because we know because you bought that vacuum.
Exactly. Yep. All 400 pounds of it.
How many payments did you just stroke a check, or did you go on the payment plan?
I think we did like 4 years worth of
That is so egregious.
By the time I paid that thing off, it was a $17,000 vacuum. I could have bought 2 cars.
Oh shit! Oh wow! Oh my goodness! That is
So,
greatness right there.
I have
Hey
a-
guys, if y'all don't know that story, go find it in a previous episode because man, it's golden.
Oh man.
Okay, so back to my point is, so as a salesperson, you know, each of us sitting in the corners that we sit in, how much gratitude do you show when the gatekeeper does you a solid, right? What does that look like? I mean, and I get where Clint's coming from and where Nan's coming from, and you know, a little bit from John there. You know, you can, in my opinion, you can go too far with the thank yous. Absolutely, right? Because it comes off disingenuous, particularly when the girl says, well, all I did was tell you who to go see, right? I mean, you know, get out of my way now. I got to get back to work.
You know, so to that point, you know, the reward, the actual, let's say the monetary portion of gratitude in that sense, like, let's say somebody hooks you up down the road, you know, passes your card along where normally they wouldn't, and you send them a huge, you know, gift card or a bouquet of flowers or whatever. Now that one little action in her mind or his mind that was probably pretty small, they didn't have to work too hard at it, now should receive this huge reward. You set the bar, you set the market. And now every little thing, what happens now if she sits in on a meeting, he or she, the gatekeeper, sits in on a meeting for you and represents you. Now what do? Buy her a car, buy her a trip to, you know, Tahiti? I mean, where does it go from there?
And how hard do you make it for the next guy who doesn't follow your lead, right?
Exactly.
Now she's like, "Oh, you get out of here! You didn't like give me the, you know, the grease that I was looking for." So sometimes that can be, you know, kind of a pothole situation where the next guy just, you know, is like, "What does it take to get through the door here?" Well, again, you know, if you've been overly gracious, sometimes it makes it difficult. Well, which maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe it locks out your opponent.
And then what it does, and I'll tell you that our, you know, construction market's filled with those people. I'm sure the medical market is too.
Absolutely.
People that we talk about all the time that buy their way in through it, and to them that's showing gratitude for giving me a job, but it's truly illegal. You know, like this is not gracious anymore. This is a present.
No, this is it's bribery. It is bribery. So
I think you can take it too far, and I think that's why I say is, you know, I'll say it this whole episode. It is just constantly earned. I think the reward, the gratitude that you show, there is different levels of, you know, of where you should be in that, you know, and what the deed was and the thanks that it gets. There's a lot of levels and a lot of tiers of how you show it.
Sure.
Because gratitude at the end of the day, guys, it's a quality. So if we could break it down, it's a quality of a human being is gratitude. Right, showing gratitude is a quality. So I think that some of us have more of that quality than others naturally, and then some of us look at it differently, which is what I'm talking about. I have it. Don't get me wrong. I have tons of it. It's just I use it differently.
So that brings up a point I'd like to point out. So if you are overly gracious with maybe a gatekeeper, then you end up doing business with the decision maker. And you have a direct, you know, route back to the decision maker that circumvents sometimes maybe the gatekeeper, or you come in and you say, hey, he's expecting me. And you try to have a regular business relationship with somebody that you wooed too hard. It's almost like a breakup, you know, because they're expecting that same level of gratitude every time you came in that you gave the first time to get through the door. Wouldn't you think that gatekeeper would be a little jaded about that after a couple of times? Like, I'm the girlfriend until I get dumped because I get to the decision maker, right?
That's right.
So I caution people to be careful and be consistent. And, you know, when you're in practice, you have the same thing, right? Think with the end in mind. How are you going to treat your patients when you have 100 of them versus 2 that you spend all day with, right?
Yeah. And that's a good point, because like at what point, now let's say that you're not that sales rep to the gatekeeper anymore. You've moved up, you sold so much, now you bought the company, and you got to send one of your sales reps into that same gatekeeper, and they say, oh no, you're not getting past me anymore. Your boss screwed me 10 years ago, right? So it can come back full circle.
Sure.
And you know, another thing that I'd like to talk about is, for me, gratitude comes in a lot of different forms. I think a lot of us for me, this is probably the biggest way that you can show me gratitude, and I accept it, is when we do a project together, right? And let's say you're the leader of that team, and you walk out and you give a presentation in front of everybody, and you say I, like that is something that I just cannot stand. And you show me so much disrespect when we've all worked on it for, let's say 3 months, and you take that and you run with it and you say I. That is not showing gratitude. That is disrespect. But somebody that stands in front of that same group and says, my team, look, me and my team put this together. That's gratitude in my book. And that's a huge form of flattery, and it motivates people. And so like I said, I have a ton of it. It's just, I use it a little bit different. I'm not I appreciate everything you do for me every day. I don't show that affection, but I do show it in the form that I try to never say I when a team is involved, things like that. So comes in all shapes and sizes, guys.
And not to eat up some more time here, but Clint hit on a real important project. If you give credit to people who helped you get someplace, saying, hey, without your help, this wouldn't have been possible, I think that really elevates people because they feel like they're part of a successful endeavor in general, whether it be just from the company they work for as a gatekeeper, or an assistant to somebody that is working on the project, or one of your assistants, or somebody that's on your team. People like to be appreciated, right? And recognized. They like to be recognized for what they did right, because we all kind of eat it on the stuff that we don't do so well on. So when somebody, it solidifies their position within a company that you currently are working with. And so it's always good to recognize people that have helped you get where you need to get, or been a part, like you said, of a particular project, as you stand up and you don't get lost in your own grandeur, right? Have the gratitude to thank everybody and recognize everybody that made whatever you're doing possible. Just keep that in the back of your mind.
And I see that a lot in sports figures and actors and actresses, right? I see that a ton, where they, let's say a guy hits 40 home runs, and the interview says, hey, how do you hit so well? Well, I do this and I do that. But the ones that I always appreciate are the ones, well, hey, I was here last year and Coach so-and-so taught me this and brought me to this level. I worked hard at it, don't get me wrong, but he taught me this level. That's gratitude, right? That's where I see it a lot at, is forgotten a lot in the sports, and the actors standing up, getting their awards, and I worked so hard to get here. It's like, yeah, well, so did everybody else that helped you get here, and don't forget about those people, So.
Yeah, the I versus like we stuff is super important, right? And salespeople are often guilty of using too many I statements. I'm just here because I would like to take a look at your stuff. I'm going to need this and this and this. And like when I go back and I kind of like try to remember how people pitch to me, right? And like how I feel about it. And whenever I break that down, it always feels like the worst ones are the ones where I don't even need to be there, right? Hey, I'm just here in your neighborhood and I just wanted to take a look, and when can I get up on your roof? And it's like, I don't even need to really be here for this conversation to go exactly the way that it did. Yeah. And that's the stuff that really, it just goes all over me. Right. And so I liked it that shows up as gratitude for you, because I don't think about it in that same way, but that makes a ton of sense, and I can see it in that same lens, which is interesting.
I'm going to bring up something else here. One of the things that I think salespeople are really prone at, because sales is a tough job. We have to go out there and be our own people, and we have to, overcome our own issues at knocking on doors and selling and cold calling and all of that, that we forget to support our family or our significant others that are close to us, right? That see us frustrated and have to come up with the right words to sort of kind of, or they feel like there's sometimes, you can come home a little angry being a salesman some days, or a little discouraged, or not wanting to talk, or all these things that you just bring back to the house. Now, I'm sure everybody has their decompression and the way they try to leave certain things out, but that shit will creep in and just be part of the dinner conversation. And I think, yeah, I challenge everybody to reach out to their significant others or their family in a general sense and thank them for being supportive. And they reap the rewards of your success, but they've also had to go through the trials and tribulations when it hasn't actually turned out so well for you.
Yeah.
And that goes to just like the people that you work with as well, right? Because I mean, obviously you can carry a lot of this stuff home, right? If your mindset is, not set up the right way, and you kind of wear some of this, you wear the nose, you wear the rejection sometimes. But the other side of it, right, is like a lot of these salespeople who are not prioritizing their team. They're just prioritizing like what the prospect wants, right? So they get a call, they're like, hey, I need a bid. And they go rattle up, right, everybody who's part of that process without asking any questions around qualifying or anything else, and you hear about this all the time because there's this stigma inside most companies that the salespeople will do anything to get a deal done. And then the back of the house has got to figure out how to deliver on it. And, it's, who are you looking to take care of, right? Because good teams are hard to build.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was thinking too is free consulting. With it's like the no words in sales, right? We never want to give it away for free. But for me, a lot of my business has been generated off of helping people through a tough time. Giving them some good ideas to get through this, and then keep me on the back burner for when you do the big project. I've made a lot of business that way. And, it's funny because I think most buyers in my market, at least, are heavily C's and heavily D personalities. And there's not a lot of human emotion in those two personalities that come out. So it's always business transactions, right? And so when you do free consulting for those two personalities, you're not getting gratitude back. You may not, but that's why that stigma is so bad on free consulting and giving stuff away for free, because you're dealing with most people that don't have a lot of human emotion involved in the business transaction. And so, you got to be careful of who you're giving stuff to if you're expecting gratitude to come back your way full circle, because, I did a solid for a guy today in a hotel, just trying to, get his stuff back and going, knowing full well he's going to have an expansion next year, or renovation. And, it cost me a couple hours of my time, and it's probably something I could have charged him for. But, honestly, the paperwork wasn't worth it, but it meant the world to him. And I expect that gratitude back, next year, next March, next April, when they're doing their project, even if it's just an invite, right? Maybe it's just an invite to the table. But if it doesn't, that's tough for me, because I will tell you, and I'll make sure that I feel the way I feel. So I don't know where I was going with that, other than it's just, you got to be careful who you're dealing with expecting gratitude, because not everybody has it.
Well, I think you hit on a good point that, and I'll put it in the reverse. You need to remember the people that helped you get where you need to get. So if you owe somebody opened a door, if somebody, shot you straight, you need to go back if the opportunity presents itself and do the same thing, because that's the gravest sin of all, is right. I helped you, but now you won't help me. Oh man, you want to talk about carry a grudge and make me bitter? Yeah, that's the quickest way to it, by forgetting what I did for you, right? And as long as you're reminiscent of that, if you're appreciative of that, if we still have that going, man, you got me, for the next time you need me. And I don't, it's not one for one, man. If it's 5 times I helped you, but when I call, that phone better get picked up, right? Or now I got a big issue.
Yeah.
How far does that go?
Till death.
Okay.
Well, and
no, I'm being serious. I just got a phone call
time,
from a guy, that I hadn't talked to in a while. Left him a message. Another doctor. I got some needs. I got a phone call. I'll give him a phone call back, and we'll make it happen. But if it had gone silent, that wouldn't have set very well for me.
Well, I'll tell you this: I don't ever do anything and respect gratitude at the end, because I've been burned too many times, right? And I just expect, so that way, and that's why it goes back, it's always earned, right? And the reason I say that is because that's kind of a negative way to look at things, but if I always expect I'm not going to get gratitude, I might get paid, right? And that might be gratitude enough for me, but I don't expect every time I do something for somebody to give me a big hug and pat me on the back and tell me I'm the greatest thing ever. And I think some people do, right? And I mean, I've worked with a lot of people that do. They do something for you. They bring you papers off the printer so you didn't have to get up at your desk, and they just stand there and look at you. I'm like, hey, thanks, man. But I'm not going to give you a big hug for it. It's not that big a deal. And it might be for them. So it's one of them things. Like I go into a lot of situations where I don't expect it. And then when I get it, it means more, but if I expect it every time and it doesn't, I don't want to feel burned every time I don't get it. So, we talk about giving it. And I'm also, switching the script a little bit on receiving it too. So don't set yourself up for failure thinking you're going to get it every time you do a task, because that's craziness.
Well, and I think that that's really important because we're kind of talking about, knowing people, opening doors, helping people out, and sometimes that might be like a referral or an introduction and stuff. And how do you avoid the entitlement of like, hell yeah, I did something for you. You better hook me up later on.
That's tough. I think that lives in, to be honest with you, I think that lives in mine and Doc's world big time. INDs. I think that we do a lot of stuff for people thinking, hey, I got this one for you. Especially, I think eyes. I see it a lot in eyes. Doc, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you kind of build your arsenal of people around you to build favors off stuff you've done. I mean, I see it in the business world, no matter what personality, but I've just kind of always seen it in the eyes for sure.
I don't expect it. I want to know that I earned. Again, it goes back to Clint and Nan and I know John can appreciate this just from the Kung Fu side of things, right? Where you go out of your way to help somebody out, and you'll do it again and again and again. But at a certain point, if the other party just is taking it for granted, and we all know when we're being taken for granted. I get hey, they didn't say thank you this time. Nah, that's a solid guy. He was busy. He just went the other way. I mean, I don't get butthurt off the little things. It's when people start to expect the fact that I'm always going to be there to do my part, whether it may, and it's out of my way every time. And I'm like, wait a second, somebody's getting the wrong impression here. All right. And that's when I'm like, whoa. This is one-sided, or this doesn't benefit me enough. And that's when things can go off the rails. I don't need thank yous so much as I need to know that you appreciated what I did, just in whatever way you decide to deliver that to me. And if it's a quick, hey, appreciate that, cool. And you get to working around certain people and they never can say a damn thank you. Well, guess what? All right. Wash my hands. I'm like the dealer. I'm out of here. Again, I'm old. I can't hear very well. Right. I don't, what do you need? Huh? Why? Then it's like, why do you need it now? Oh yeah. I'll get to it. Yeah. I got you back. Yeah. I got it. Just keep walking. Dude walks off a cliff, right? He's like, I thought you had me. Right?
Oh, I totally can't relate with that at all, to be absolutely honest. And I hesitate even saying that, but I'm like listening to y'all going, whoa, that is wild. But maybe y'all can, like I said, call me to the carpet. Maybe I'm high in the sky here.
I'll speak to it a little bit, because Nan, that's where you get your fuel to get up and do what you do every day and act the way that you act and fuel your personality. That's how you fuel your emotions, is gratitude and grace and love and compassion. I mean, those words are that's what fills your gas tank every day.
Now, when people do things so truly, like I said, I kind of am like, but it's okay because it'll be a lesson learned. But I'm like, man, I literally do things not for what I'm going to get in return, because my return is how I feel. I hate to sound selfish, but I feel fantastic whenever I feel like I feel like when you're kind to someone, that makes their life better, and then they're going to be kinder, and then it's just like this payback, and not necessarily to me. I don't care. I mean, I literally do not care. But, listening to the that's kind of even confusing to me, to be absolutely honest. And I hope that doesn't sound, like I said, weird, but I don't like, if you expect something, that's kind of your choice. You chose to do it, and now you're demanding them to react the way you want. I don't even understand how you can be like that. But that's why we have a DISC, right? So there we go. And that's why I think it's so important. Now the finger's up because I'm like, that's why it's so very important in life to have different personalities being together. Because if everyone was like me, it would be nauseating. If everyone was like Al, it would be nauseating. I mean, you just really need different.
She's not even going to continue that.
No, I had a good punchline there.
But so there we go. That that's what it is. We just need different personalities because we do help each other. But man, if I lived off of that, I do only what I'm going to get in return. That I can't even imagine. That would be scary to me. To me, that would be scary because then you're waiting with everyone, everyone else. I don't care what anyone's reaction is.
Nan, so you think now that Clint and I and John really didn't weigh in on this, that we only do things so that somebody pays us back? That's not what I was getting at.
No, I definitely don't think that. I know y'all both too well, but I guess I'm just trying to understand why there's so much. It's so important to get a good reaction from someone.
No, I don't mean to. If I said that, it's not what I meant. I don't think I said it, but what I'm saying is that your expectations of doing something and expecting something in return. So I'm saying exactly what you're saying. Truly, like you can't expect something in return because you did something.
Right.
And every time you do something small, you can't expect gratitude from every person on the planet. You have to earn, when somebody gives something to you, it's earned. And same way in, reciprocating, I'm not going to give you a ton of, so this is where me and you different a little bit, Dan. It's where you give it freely. I give it off something that is earned. More or less. You'll do it to make somebody's day. I don't go out of my way to do something nice for somebody just to make their day.
Right.
I'll do it to make me feel better. It's different. Very different.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so John, you have been really quiet, and so I would love to know a C perspective.
Well, I have a story, but I have a question first for Clint, because you said a minute ago that you helped a guy the other day for nothing, but you know that he's got an expansion coming up, and you're expecting something.
No, I'm not expecting it. I'm just I weighed my risk versus reward. Right?
Well, I think what Clint was saying, the nothing was he didn't ask for payment for what he did. He just gave him, and my grandmother used to call it lanyap. She was a Cajun woman. And so lanyap is something given for free, expecting nothing in return. I mean, you can look it up. It's a Cajun word. And they have lanyap day, right? Which is where you give all the kids a little something. It's just almost like not a holiday, obviously, but they would do it, at college campuses, free beer and crawfish if you go to school in Louisiana. I did fail out of that institution, by the way. But anyway, that's a different story.
But that's a good way to put it, because I truly did that not expecting. And like I said earlier, I try to go into most situations where I'm giving something away or giving something to somebody because they need help. I'm not expecting this, gift card in the mail 2 months later telling me how I'd made their day. I just do it and move on. It's over. I did it. It made me feel good. It made them feel good. I'm gone with it. That's plenty for me. Right. But now if I give a guy a full tank of gas for free and he drives across country, and then I see him on the news and he won the lotto on the way, and he doesn't pay me back for my tank of gas, we're going to have some words, right? We're going to be a little pissy.
So a long time ago, I was working in a co-working space, and I met this guy there. He was confused. I helped him out, and then we got connected. He was there on a day pass. So then we get connected.
Was this about his sexuality or something? But go ahead.
No. No, he was just coming into the co-working space. I knew how the co-space was working, and
That was supposed to be a joke, but anyway,
No.
it fell flat.
it was super funny. So we get connected on LinkedIn, and then a couple of weeks later, I see that he's connected to someone who I think could be a prospect. So I reach out and I said, "Hey, how well do you know this person?" And he was like, "Oh, pretty well." I said, "Well, hey, would you mind just like giving me an introduction, and just saying, hey, like, you should talk to John." And he goes, "Oh no, man, I don't do that." And I got so mad, right? Because I was like, well, what the hell are we doing here, right? This was a long time ago. I was a little more stubborn, and I was like, well, if we're not going to network, we're not going to make introductions. I don't even need to have this connection. So I just went and severed the connection like right then and right there, because my network on LinkedIn at that time was like very, very close, and it was very referral driven and stuff like this. And so it just didn't make any sense to me to have somebody in there if they're not willing to do that. And that's kind of like how like I was thinking about everything, right? If you're not going to refer me, I'm not going to refer you. If I make an introduction, like I need to know is at least appreciated because I put effort into it in some way, shape, or form. And
and it's a bad trap because you start tallying wins and losses really
Absolutely.
fast. And when one outweighs the other, you stop doing things.
Yeah.
And that's not good either. So.
But did you ask like some defining questions like, strange, John, why is it that you take that position given, just our background and what's transpired between the two of us? And if he goes, what do you mean? I go, look, you were, so yeah, I mean, go ahead. I have another story popped in my head, but yeah, explain to me how you.
Really?
Well, it like I didn't blow up at him or anything. I was like, this just doesn't make sense. This isn't what I use this for. Let's end this thing, right? And the way that I think about it now is it's like this, for lack of a better term, this karmic loop of networking, right? I give referrals, I give introductions like as freely as I possibly can without expecting anything in return. Because if I expect anything, the whole thing becomes like a system that I'm trying to rig to have the best outcomes I can.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I would think that, if somebody is not grateful or gracious when you do business with them, maybe that's their demeanor. Maybe it's just they're more reserved, possibly shy. Maybe they just don't, reach out to people very often. But if you ask for a specific favor after having given one, I think you have the right to kind of reinforce, or not reinforce, but you have a right to question why they're not capable or why they won't, help you when you've helped them. I mean, obviously they're shutting the door. What's wrong with putting your foot there before they close it and going, hey, before we end this, can I ask you, why are you being such a dick? Right. Or, how is it? Have I offended you? I mean, do you short-term memory gone? What's going on here? And
well, I think that the key to doing that is having a level of confidence that like most people never actually get to, because they don't stand in that kind of like, I mean, as salespeople, we get a lot of no's. We get a lot of people like, what the hell are you doing here? And stuff like this, that we run into. And it's just through having like a pure mindset of like, oh, you don't have any problems with this. That's totally okay. But that doesn't mean that I'm like a nuisance. There's other people who do see value in talking to me. So no skin off my back that you don't. Like that takes a level of confidence that like takes time and reps, and it's hard, right? So most people just don't ever get there, I don't think.
Agreed. But I understand if I walk through a door and somebody's just rude to me and they kick me out of the office. And I've had, a couple of those encounters here recently, or her more than me, in the sense where people were just not interested. They didn't, but there was nothing that we'd never done anything for them, or Nan had never done anything. It was just a, hey, introduction, cold call, walk through the door. I get that when they boot your ass out or they don't have time for you at that point. But at a certain point, if you've done somebody a solid and helped them out, and now they're trying to behave that way, I think it's within your right to go, sorry, I'm a little confused here. Why this attitude when, I was actually, you were asking for my help, 3 days ago or last week or the week before. I don't see any problem with challenging that person unless, particularly if they're not they're just the gatekeeper, or there's somebody that's part of the process, not the real decision maker.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. Well, guys, we are at time. So I think we covered this pretty in depth. I don't know that it makes sense to go through and do a throwdown.
I have nothing further to say.
I do. I want to thank all of our viewers and people that listen to this podcast on a regular basis. My heart goes out with immense gratitude for all the effort that you put in to come to the station or however you get this medium and watch and spend some time. I mean, time is value, and I appreciate you spending part of your time with us. Thank you. And I mean that sincerely.
Man,
It came off corny in the beginning, but I really mean it right now. Thank you.
Clint, if you had to quantify how many like weeks or months that shaved off of your life, where do you think that was?
I'll probably live to be about 42 now.
Well, before we depart, though, Clint's obviously in the company bathroom. It's got an automatic timer on the light because it keeps going off.
Behind me is my computer screens, and it blocks the light timer. And so during the day, I do it like 700 times a day. You'd think somebody at construction get that fixed.
I was gonna say, don't you have some kind of maintenance crew around there that you could like usher in to get that switch changed out?
Probably could, but I don't want to pay him.
I think that switch kind of like picks up your soul, and since Clint doesn't have one, I mean, even if you moved it to the other wall, it'd probably still not register.
Probably see right through me, huh?
Awesome, guys. To echo Al's statement, we are grateful that you guys take time out to listen to us. There's a lot of people who want your attention, and there's a lot of people talking about this in a way that isn't at all like the way that we talk about it. So if you're seeing value here, we appreciate that. If you know somebody else in sales, please share this with them. If you have a question and you want to be referenced on the show or talked about on the show, send us a text, 817-345-7449. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And we're all over social media. Everything is at Sales Throwdown. So follow us. If you have questions, concerns, if you want to take the assessment, let us know and we'll get you hooked up. Thanks a lot, everybody. We'll see you next week.